then it's time to get to the theme. So the theme is sanctuary, and I wanted to start the day with you talking about what feels home for you, where you feel safe, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I asked Shazia to give us her view on sanctuary. Shazia, you pretty much joined CreativeMornings Hong Kong as soon as you moved to Hong Kong, correct? Yeah, so we met here through CreativeMornings, and I'm very excited that you're going to be a speaker for today. So a big round of applause for Shazia.
Hi everyone, I'm Shazia. So nice to see so many of you. So to start, just to let you know to open up to whatever it is that we're going to talk about today. And you can pick it all back up after the talk if you want, but for this next half an hour or so, just allow yourself to be open to the ideas and the themes that we're going to touch on. And the more that you do that, the more you'll kind of be open to fresh and new insights, which is what this is all about. So listen for something new today. Try not to listen for what you already know or compare what I'm saying with what you already know. Just allow yourself to kind of really slow down and listen for something fresh and new. And this is going to be an interactive session as well. So I'm not going to be the only one talking. I'm going to be wanting to hear from all of you. So, feel free if you've got a question come up, if you've got something on your mind or something's really resonating with you, please do share it as well. So to start with, I want to know, and Mark kind of primed us for this, but what is your idea of sanctuary? So what does sanctuary mean to you? You can throw out some, I want to hear from a few of you, so just throw out what comes to mind for you when you think of sanctuary. Safe space, nice, yeah. Sorry, what's that? Peaceful, nice. Nature, yeah. What else? Sorry? Softness, cushion, nice. I like that. Nice. The back cave, yeah. Tea, yeah, great. Love that. Openness, yeah. Great, thank you. I love that. So safe space, peaceful, openness, softness. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes to start, just kind of settling into that feeling. So I'm going to ask everyone if you're willing to kind of get comfortable, settle into your seat, and close your eyes or lower your gaze. And just kind of focus inwards to yourself. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath. So just take a second to slow down here. So I want you to think of a place where you feel relaxed, where you feel that sanctuary, that calm, that peace. Somewhere you feel safe. You don't need to share this with anyone afterwards, so really feel free to go anywhere you need to go in this moment. Just be there, slow down, get really present. Imagine that you're actually there right now. Maybe there's a person with you who you feel really safe with and heard by. Maybe not. Just notice what you're feeling in this moment. What are you experiencing? What do you see What are the colours around you? What are you hearing? Are there any smells around you? What feelings are coming up for you right now as you settle into this experience? There might be a word that comes up to describe the feeling that you're in. And just enjoy that for a second. Be where you are. Enjoy this experience. Take your time with it. Whenever you're ready, slowly imagine yourself coming back into the room. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Take your time, and when you're ready, open your eyes. So how was that? What were some of the things that you felt while you were doing that exercise? Refreshing. Calm, weightlessness. Yeah, nice. Was that gratefulness? Nice. Is anybody willing to share where they went? Silent one? Yeah, nice. Who else? Wow, nice. Nice, in the present. I love that. Home. Anyone else want to share where they went? Or what they felt? What was the experience like? Sunset. Nice. Yeah, great. So isn't it cool how you were able to experience that feeling right now in this room, despite kind of being here, you felt like you were at the sunset, or you felt like you were in Taiwan, or like, that's really cool, right? That the mind is able to create that, and that you could feel peacefulness and gratefulness and weightlessness, despite being nowhere near the place where you kind of had in your mind. And so that's the idea that I want us to explore today, is that feeling of sanctuary, that peacefulness, that's coming from us. And it's so easy for us to think that that's coming from the sunset or the mountains or the nature. But in this moment, you were able to experience that same feeling despite not moving from your seat. And what that kind of points to is the idea that our experience of life is happening from the inside out. What I mean by that is it's really easy to think that something on the outside can cause us to feel something inside, right? It's easy to think that work causes me to feel stressed, or that the sunset causes me to feel joy. But what you guys have experienced just now is that actually you weren't in a feeling, or maybe you weren't in a feeling of peace and love and joy and lightness and weightlessness and gratitude, and then you were, and nothing changed in your circumstances. And it kind of like, you can probably also think of times in your life where you weren't in that, when you were in that beautiful place, and you didn't feel those things. So I relate to the sunset one, where it's like I can, feel amazing when I'm looking at a sunset. But I've had experiences where I've been at the sunset and I've been thinking about work the next day and I've been stressed and anxious. So it's not that the sunset is causing me to feel good. It's not that the sunset is the cause of my sanctuary. There's got to be something else going on, right? If it's possible for me to feel that or to not feel that. And on the flip side, it's possible to feel that sanctuary when there's nothing really on the outside that seems to be causing that for us. So I had a client who I was speaking with about his Christmas break, and he was saying, he had this week where he called it a boring week. He was like, nothing was really happening. I was taking care of my sick girlfriend, so I was out, I was walking to the shops, I was cooking, I was feeding her. But he said it was a magical week. And this is a guy who's like super ambitious, top of his game at work, like really high-powered job, always doing. He was like, but I had this magical week doing nothing. Right? There was nothing in his circumstances to create that sanctuary or that feeling within him, but he felt it. And that's available to us, right? That's something that, he didn't do anything to get that feeling. But for whatever reason, he settled into that space. He settled into that freedom, that calm, that peace. And what happens when we do that is we kind of get touched by things around us, whatever it is that is around us, right? It's not that we need some stimulus or something to create that. It just happens. And the other thing to mention actually is that it works the other way as well, in terms of that's how trauma is experienced, right? So trauma is us reliving something from the past that, could have happened years ago, but it feels like it's happening in this moment. And it feels really, really bad. So it's this idea of our experience of life is coming from whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling in this moment. And if that's true, then we have the capacity and the power to experience that sanctuary at any moment. Right? We have perfect well-being within us. We just don't always see it, but it's there. So just now, where you guys were feeling softness and peace and weightlessness and gratitude, that wasn't coming from anything. That was within you. It wasn't that you needed to kind of physically go anywhere or physically do anything or change your thought process or anything like that. You kind of sunk into that. Those of you who felt that. It's kind of like someone I know calls it like a drop-in center. It's open 24/7. It's always there. And it's just something that we kind of settle into, that sanctuary, that space within us. It's not something that we need to go anywhere to find. So how is this landing for people? I'm curious. I want to hear, and I might pick on some people, or if you want to volunteer. What are you hearing in this? What's resonating for you here? Feel free to raise your hand or yeah.
It's just a reminder that this tool is always there. I'm in the here. I work in workplace well-being, and it's very easy that this is the first thing that you forget in those times that are most stressful or consuming. So it's always nice to have a reminder of other tools to make it. It's within us. You don't need anything else besides your thoughts to reframe and give yourself some grounding.
I'm really resonating with that, the analogy of the drop-in center, because it does feel like an intentional downshift, but that you do sink back, and just taking a moment to sit down and just drop in. There's almost an optimism or an excitement to try this a bit more, in a sense, because it is to carve out time, right, to go do something, or to go to yoga, or to find my little chair, or to do whatever I need to do. So I just think that's actually always available if we just sit back, in a sense.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Who else? Yes.
I think it's a powerful reminder that it's not just the feeling of sanctuary, but any kind of feeling. If you want to bring it up, you can think of it. So if you want to feel happy in a sad place, or if you want to feel calm in a stressful place, it's always nice to think that
Yeah, I love that. And what's helpful here for me is that it's kind of just a description of how we work, right? How the mind works. So we can absolutely use it as a tool, like you said, to kind of come into that space more if we want to, drop into that drop-in center. But what I'm pointing to here is that this is kind of at play within us all the time. So whether it's an experience of being in a stressful place and allowing ourselves to drop in and settle and calm, or whether it's us recognizing that, wow, I got really caught up and sped up and loud and noisy in my mind then, right? That's something that's always here. It's always at play. Whatever it is that we're experiencing is coming from our thoughts and feelings in the moment, right? Like, it's impossible to feel love for someone without having loving thoughts and feelings about them, right? So it's like, this is a kind of description of how our psychological operating system works. We are experiencing whatever it is that is going on inside our minds, irrespective of what is going on out here. Sometimes it looks like it works as a kind of trigger, cause and effect. But we can feel that feeling. We do feel that feeling based on what's coming from the inside. And that's cool, right? That's where we start to see that, okay, there's some like our free will comes into play here. It's like that there is so much more. We're not at the effect of, or we're not only at the effect, which is how I used to see it. Is that, I'm just at the effect of my circumstance. Whatever happens, I'm going to respond to that, and there's nothing else I can really do about that. But when I realized that, wow, I'm actually creating my experience moment to moment, I'm doing that innocently, without realizing it. I'm doing that. There's so much more to play for. There's so much more control and power that we actually have over our experience of the world and our experience of our life. I want to hear from maybe two more people before we carry on. Yeah.
So I was just trying to think of a way of reframing, but I also been thinking about, you're following your Google Maps while you're driving your car, and it's showing you what's in front of you. But how often do I actually go, hey, I really need that 50,000 foot view to see where I am actually at? So it's not only staying in your own space, but then getting up high and saying, okay, where am I in this journey? And you go, okay, now recenter, now I'm back on my piece. So it's not only, I think it's not only looking at it from, this is my view and I'm seeing it from the other side, but you also have to go outside to the third person, 50,000 foot view, and see where you actually are in the whole grand scheme of things. Otherwise you forget where north is.
I love that. That's really interesting, this idea of seeing where you're at with perspective, right? And I think that's a really, really interesting point, because one of the things that so we're talking about sanctuary. We all recognize that these feelings that you're sharing, then they feel nice, right? It's a nice place to be in your sanctuary. But what's also helpful to look at is like, well, why is it useful? So it feels nice, but what is being in our sanctuary good for? Why is it helpful to us? And one of the things that can happen really naturally when we settle into that drop-in center is that we see clearer. So it's almost like an automatic leveling up to 50,000 feet. It's like when we get into that place of sanctuary, when we get into that peaceful place, when we slow down within ourselves, we get access to this reservoir of resourcefulness within us. So, we are, from that place, we are better able to see the road ahead. We're better able to know what's right for us, what's wrong for us in a moment. We're better at decision making. We're better listeners. We're better leaders. We have more perspective. That all happens naturally. Because again, that's within us. We have perfect well-being within. It's like the sun, right? It's always there, but we don't always see it. On a really cloudy, stormy day, you don't see the sun, but it's always there. Behind the storms, it's there. So that is your well-being. That is your sanctuary. And from that place comes resourcefulness, resilience, wisdom. So I want to share a little story about this, and I would love to hear yours. That kind of experience for me of a kind of compass, a guide that happens when we're in that sanctuary. So for me, my decision to move to Hong Kong was something that on paper might have seemed like a really bad idea, right? And I don't know if others can relate to this, or experiencing the decision to move to Hong Kong, for those of you who aren't from here. For me, I just changed my job. It was my first time leaving the country. It was the middle of a global pandemic. I had people in my life who were like, why would you do that? I didn't agree with it. But within me, I knew. There was, and there's nothing more that I can really say to explain that. But there was an inner knowing. There was an inner feeling within myself of like, this is what's right for me. This is the right decision for me to move and to do this. And it's right now. Might not be right forever, but it's right now, and I'll know, right? There was a trusting of that sanctuary, that inner sense of knowing, that feeling, that intuition, whatever you want to call it, that inner wisdom. That's what we can drop into when we're in our sanctuary. That comes through us. There is, and you can even just describe it as common sense, right? And like sometimes things just click, things make sense, things feel right. There is a kind of inner knowing within us that can happen when we drop into that drop-in center. Is this making sense? Is this resonating? I'm curious to know if anybody else has any examples of this in their life, of when they've had that, in a sense, in a feeling about something. Maybe on paper it didn't look right, or maybe it did, but a kind of a decision that you made because it felt right. And maybe you didn't do all of the pros and cons and the analysis and the logical thinking that, we're so used to doing. Yeah.
I moved to Hong Kong because somebody I was dating at the time said I didn't have what it takes to make it. That was 11 years ago.
Nice.
So sometimes somebody telling you can't do something gives you enough drive to get something done.
Yeah, definitely. Who else? An inner knowing about something, a feeling of, yeah, this is right for me, or maybe this is wrong for me. Yeah.
You think it's good for you, like it's going to benefit you, but you don't do it because you want to take a break, and everybody else is doing it. You have the fear of missing out, but you don't do it, and you're proud of yourself that you didn't do it because you fought this fear of missing out, and actually it helps you to have your true self.
I love that. Yeah. So for those of you who didn't hear, it was about, everyone's doing something and you feel like you don't want to do it. You need a break and you need to take time for yourself. But actually, so often we have this fear of missing out, and we want to go and do it because others are doing it. But actually recognizing that within yourself, it was the right thing not to do it and to take that time. And actually, ultimately, that helped you find more kind of your own sense of self and doing what's right for you. It's a brilliant example. Yeah, totally. And was that, I want to ask you a question about that. Was that that feeling within yourself that like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to not go and do that thing. Where did that come from? Do you know? It's okay if you don't.
Trying to really find who I am, because most of the time I was a teenager, right? And you do what others are doing, and I think it's easy to forget what you want to do. And I think for me it's very important to know what I want, because if I do what others want, and even if I succeed at that, I will not be happy. Because I'm this kind of person. Like I want to do what I want.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
So I have a corporate job, but I also work with wellness. And just before the pandemic, I'd gone out to a hotel in the South just one of my happy places. But I felt a really strong calling that I wanted to do a retreat there, but I just didn't materialize at that time. And then right after the pandemic hit, I just felt a really strong calling to create a retreat, a weekend retreat out there, just to give people a break and kind of like, sense that things could be okay despite what was happening. And even though it was just 2 or 3 months into the pandemic and it seemed like the craziest idea, I just was really felt so strongly that it had to happen. And the changes made by the government of okay, you can only gather in 2, you can only gather in 4. It was is this really going to happen? And I just kept with it. And a few weeks before the retreat, actually the retreat date in May of 2020, I was able to get 8 people to sign up and go out there for a weekend and just really just let go. And people came from all walks of life and experiences and reasons to be out there and just feel like they could get away and for a weekend and be okay. But it was just so out there. It was so hard to get people to buy into it because it was everyone would, so many of us have really had fear. I just felt this, I have to create this, and just something is driving me to do it. I had no idea what, but
Yeah. And where did the idea come from? Do you know?
I was just had gone out there in 2019 to just go in and I was just on the rooftop and just I don't know, it was just
Yeah. So just to go slightly further, you were sitting on that rooftop in Cyclone. You went out there. What were you doing? Were you working? Were you?
I was just having a friend and I were there watching the sunset and we were having animals and things and then champagne and we were just sitting out here drinking and it was just I don't know, that feeling of being there, enjoying the moment and then just
Yes. So this is a perfect example of what we're talking about today, right? She was sitting on the rooftop, watching the sunset, relaxing with friends. Like there wasn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like you were thinking about what's your next project. That's where ideas come from, right? If you ask people, oh, where did your best idea come from? They're going to say things like, oh, I was just on a long aimless drive, or oh, I was in the shower, oh, it was the middle of the night. Those ideas, creativity, that comes from sanctuary. That comes from that place of calm within us. That comes from when we're not thinking about it. When we take our mind off the thing, something inside starts working for us. It's like, if you lose your keys and then you spend a whole day searching relentlessly for them and you don't find them and then you relax and like, okay, they're gone. I'm gonna have to get a new set cut. And then you're like, oh, maybe they're there. No, you know that feeling? It's like, and you're like, oh yeah, they're in that drawer. That happens. That's not a coincidence. That happens because when we surrender, when we let go, when we settle inside ourselves, the mind gets quiet. And when the mind gets quiet, we open ourselves out to amazing ideas. The truth of who we are and who we need to be. Our next step, our next move, we get more resilient, we get resourceful, we get productive. A lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm just here chilling out all the time and in my sanctuary, then I'm not going to get anything done. What I've found to be true and what my clients find to be true is that the opposite actually happens. When we're in that space, when we're in the drop-in center, we get these ideas, we get this motivation, this drive. So I know that we're pretty much out of time, but I just want to kind of leave you with that question. Like, what is there in that sanctuary for you? Like, why is it useful? Why is it helpful for you? to kind of spend more time in that drop-in center, or spend just a moment more in that drop-in center. Kind of allowing yourself to settle into who you really are, settle into the quiet within you and that space, and see what comes out of that. So I don't know, Mark, if we can just get that. Okay, perfect, thank you. So I just wanted to share that if any of this has piqued your interest, if you would like to see more of this in your life, then I'm really happy to share with you some resources, and I'd also really love to connect with you if you would like to have a chat. So scan the tree, and I'd be really happy to speak with you further. I'll also be hanging around after the talk today, so you're welcome to come and chat to me. Thank you so much for listening.